idiot left his door unlocked.
Alright, so after beating that Cobra Kai goon, I decided to rank the Karate Kid movies. These movies are dear to my heart. Ever since I was a kid, I grew up watching these films, so let's get to it. Number 5 on this list is The Next Karate Kid. I found this to be the only movie I didn't enjoy at least one bit. Why? To be honest, the biggest reason is the characters inside of this movie. The only likable one is honestly Miyagi, and there's even some scenes where he tries to be funny and more humorous than he usually is, and I really don't enjoy that. And Julie was just an immature brat. Way more than Daniel. They joke about it because she's a girl and how training a girl is harder than training a boy. But the character's just annoying. And when she becomes a non-crying brat, it doesn't really feel earned because it's just a complete change. And literally almost every side character except the love interest was very rude and strange. They would just not be normal people. They would touch them and like out of nowhere, and then a fight would break out. Of course, Miyagi always coming out on top. The main bad guys are basically like the school monitors, I want to say. Like they watch, I guess, for bad activity on the school grounds. Basically, their teacher or their sergeant teaches them to use force. You know, like all the bad guys basically do with these movies is teach these kids to do bad things. But literally, the idea of the monitor, like the school monitors or whatever you want to call that group, I just really don't like it. And especially the group leader, Ned, he has this weird obsession with Julie for some reason because she doesn't want to go out with him because he's so popular. And he's very weird about it and very aggressive. And he acts like she should like it for some reason. There's these monk characters that are try to be the comedic relief. And I really didn't find any of the scenes funny, especially the bowling scene. I was bored at this point, kind of tired of the movie. And I really don't know why they had to make another movie after like the original trilogy, to be completely honest. Like I understand they wanted to make bank, but I mean literally the third one had bad ratings. I don't really know how much it made, but I literally thought about turning this movie off like halfway through it, but I just had to stick it out. And even the ending was honestly just a letdown. Not even a letdown. I expected it not to be good. It wasn't really cool. Like there was no competitions, which was I like about Karate Kid, but that's not the only thing I like about it. We'll get there later. But this is even more lame than the fight against Chosen, which wasn't a competition. But I feel like this could have been a fresh and new idea with Miyagi, training a girl that's getting picked on. But I feel like the choices they made were kind of unique and not in the right way you should have taken this. Uh, so I feel like everything was kind of wrong about this movie, include like the story, characters, scenery, and music. I would even argue. So yeah, I just do not recommend this movie at all. Did not have a fun time. Number four is The Karate Kid 2010, the remake, featuring Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith. So this is a movie I actually used to watch all the time when I was a kid, and now revisiting, unfortunately, I did not think it was as good as I remembered. The biggest thing is like the characters were more forgettable than the others in the other movies. Other characters have been like fun and exciting, even though if they were portrayed goofy at times. But the bad guys in this movie really didn't portray emotions except anger, I would say. I didn't really see them get sad or have anything terrible happen to them. Of course, a child does get slapped, but you don't really see the effects on them like you do in the first movie. I also really didn't enjoy how young the characters were. As like Daniel LaRusso was in high school getting picked on, uh, Dre in this movie was 12 years old. And I feel like that kind of took me out of the movie because like I'm not going to blame him, but he is a young actor. And I feel like he didn't really act that well. So kind of took me out of the movie. I feel like Ralph Macchio definitely did a better job acting in the movies. Probably because he was older and had more experience. Jackie Chan did actually have a spark on this movie. He did pretty good on acting. He did have an emotional scene with like Dre or Jaden Smith in like the car when he's drunk. Even though I wasn't completely tuned in, it did kind of get to me. If I was tuned into the movie, if it was like a little bit better, I would have definitely felt more emotional. But Jackie Chan literally stole the whole show, every scene he was in. But I also did enjoy how it was back to the original just competitions. And I enjoyed Jaden Smith's portrayal of not knowing the rules of karate and running off the mat like a little kid would. So it kind of makes it funny. Other than that, this movie just tends to drag. It is a 2 hour and 20-minute runtime. It isn't like a bad movie overall. Like I said, it just doesn't really have the same effect as the other ones do on me. So, I mean, I do enjoy how this has fresh ideas and isn't a shot for shot remake how we see nowadays most of the time, and it seems like industries are just running out of ideas. And even though it turns out that it is a remake now, so that's fun, but at the time, people thought it was. And it kept it fresh enough, but it just didn't really compare to the original trilogy for me.
Just yourself, man.
So, Karate Kid Part 3 is my number 3. So, this isn't the worst movie, but this one was honestly kind of weird to rank because I feel like I did mostly like the side characters more in this than I did in the second one, but Daniel is so stupid and reckless with his care for Miyagi. He literally has no regard for his own life, and it is so upsetting to watch. And Miyagi doesn't really seem like himself either. Like even when trying to when Daniel gets trapped and has to fight and agree to a fight so he can still live, as the enemies have him in a position where they can basically end his life. He agrees to fight, so they let him up. And Miyagi doesn't agree to train him. Why? This is basically the same thing that happened in the first one. This is out of Daniel's control. He is getting picked on. I mean, he literally chose to save his life, which I would do. If I was put in that position, I would agree to fight this guy. So, why doesn't he train him? So, of course, Daniel goes to freaking Silver, who is my favorite character of this movie, to be honest. Just because how erratic and weird, like funny his behavior can be, how mad and angry he can get, and how much he loves John Kreese and how much he owes him. So he just basically stops all his work for John Kreese just to get payback for what Daniel did to Johnny and Kreese back in the first movie. I mean, it's just entertaining to watch. And even John Kreese is kind of entertaining to watch as he just takes a spa retreat throughout the whole movie until the end when he comes back and gets his ass beat, of course. But the big bad, Mike Barnes, Lou Silver paid for him. I feel like he was kind of lackluster as he didn't really show any emotion. He was just trying to get a payday. So that's why he was being mean to Daniel and forcing him to fight so he could get paid and make a lot of money. But what really props up the movie is I kind of like the scenery in this movie the best. There's like a scene where Miyagi and Daniel are training on a mountain. It's beautiful. Or when Daniel or Miyagi goes down and gets the plant. It's just beautiful, the shot making and the mountains and the scenery. It does prop up the movie a little bit. Yet again, the end is a competition style, but kind of weird because it jumps straight to the championship where Daniel's fighting because he won last year, so he can just straight up skip every other match. But I at least wanted to see Mike fight a little bit and see Daniel be more and more scared of him throughout the fighting. But we didn't get that, and we jumped to the end and the big fight. The end did show a good job of Miyagi and how he cares for Daniel and how he has hope for him and he believes in him even more than Daniel believes in himself. And I do love about that is something I love about these movies and their relationship. And it's in the other movies too, but it's just also in this one, so I had to say something. Number 2 is Karate Kid Part 2. And I enjoyed this movie a good amount. But before I get into it, I do want to say there was one scene where Miyagi was just out of character, where Daniel was breaking like ice and Miyagi placed a bet on him. I know I said previously how Miyagi had hope for Daniel, but still, placing a bet on him just seems out of character for Miyagi. And you just seen this charisma show up out of nowhere that you have never seen before. But let's just get into the movie. First thing is I really like how this dives into Miyagi's past more and where he came from, or like their system, how they used to have to fight to death, have arranged marriages, and then Miyagi fell in love with his best friend's arranged marriage, and they basically ran away from the island, and then now his best friend has a grudge against him. He thinks Miyagi was unhonorable, and when Miyagi has to come back to the island because his father is passing away, Sato, which is the friend, wants to fight him. So now, to me, I was like, okay, the grudge is a little silly, but the movie kind of just explains really good what honor means to them. And I kind of do understand it as how they make up is a good thing. And if they didn't make up that way, I would have been like, oh, okay. But Chosen really has no reason to be a bad guy in this movie, as he just doesn't like Daniel or Miyagi because his uncle doesn't and follows the rules of his uncle. Even when his uncle makes good terms with Miyagi and Danielson, Chosen still goes on the bad side, as he's too scared to help Daniel with the storm that overcomes Okinawa, and basically dishonors Sato, as he doesn't listen to him and doesn't help people, so dishonors the village as well. And he blames this on Daniel, which this basically sets up the end scene of the movie. And Chosen was probably isn't too interesting. Definitely the relationship between Miyagi and Daniel carry this movie, as he is just still the student, and he stands up for Miyagi, or tries to, at least until he gets stopped. So it just shows their relationship getting closer and how they're actually truly becoming a family. This keeps Miyagi's character from the first one, as he doesn't want to fight until his village is put in harm's way, and then he has to accept a fight to the death, so that his village can be safe. Again, this is how he defines like honor, and his village defines honor. So I feel like it goes with his character, and I really enjoy like how they went about that. The end fight is pretty entertaining because Chosen is trying to kill Danielson, and it is very like breathtaking away, and you're on the edge of your seat. I feel like, and then of course when Daniel doesn't harm Chosen at the end, you have that warm feeling and a good ending. So there is flaws in this movie. Like I feel like the scenery could have been better because I thought, oh, we're going to the island, the Okinawa, but boom, there's a military base there, and like, oh, that just takes away from it. But other than the flaws, this is a very entertaining movie to watch, I would say. Alright, and I'm pretty sure everyone knew that this was going to be my number one, of course. The original Karate Kid. This is a movie which my mom showed me a very long time ago, around when I was like 6, and I fell in love with this movie, and it honestly holds up today. Daniel, being a new kid, resonated with me moving a couple times, multiple times when I was young, and I have experience getting picked on and bullied, so that also resonated with me. And then watching Daniel find a father figure in Miyagi, and help him train and teach him to fight and overcome these issues, but also use it correctly and not become a bully with it. It's just nice to see how someone can come into this kid's life and show him the right path. This movie also does show some of the antagonists and how some are worse than others, and how basically Johnny, I would say, and Cobra Kai, or the fighters, are forced to basically fight without mercy because of Kreese. That's just how they were taught. That's how their figure was. Very violent and cruel. And a figure can have a lot of effect on the person they're teaching. So they can portray their image, and it just makes the Cobra Kai's character worse. This movie honestly might be my top 5 of all time. I do have a very close attachment to this movie, and it's just very entertaining to me. Daniel using karate for the first time on the mat, just like I said, Jaden Smith. It's not as funny, but it's very interesting to watch him being this wimpy kid, then kicking butt for the first time with karate. The way the fights are filmed in this movie are very interesting with Miyagi, like especially when Miyagi jumps over the fence and then beats up the Cobra Kai members. And almost everything is honestly perfect about this movie. The score, the filming, I mean, the scenery is alright, but just like I said, the fighting scenes, the relationships between Miyagi and Danielson as they get closer and closer, between their mentorship. And this is just a classic, and I feel like there's no way there's a hater of these movies, or at least the first one. There's not a hater in the first one, and it would be interesting if you don't like this movie. Tell me in the comment section below. But yeah. So if you like that video, please leave a like and comment in the section down below. And if you like the content I provide you fellas, please subscribe if you will. And if you don't have to, no pressure. But yes, and just have to shout out one of my favorite YouTubers wearing his merch right now, Turkey Tom, if you know him. But yeah, till then, I'll see you guys in the next vid. Have a great day, or week, or whatever.